Yo! Now we're live. This thing took forever to start. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Reviewer's Queue. I am Foobaca. I am joined by my lovely, lovely host, Daniel.
I'll go with whatever. I'm good with it. I just like being talked about.
Vanna Daniel White.
Yeah, that'll work. Holy balls, that was loud.
Put your shit on vibrate.
I'm sorry. That is the most unprofessional thing ever. All right.
I actually left my phone upstairs, but that's fine. I'm joined tonight by Senor James Martin from Inside Vaping.
Hello.
He's on Tuesdays.
I am every other Tuesday now.
Every other Tuesday.
Yes.
And we're joined by one of his homies, another dude. He's from Massachusetts. He's from Smoke-Free, Massachusetts.
I'm a homie.
Formerly known as Upstomp.
Formerly known as Upstomp from Mass Smoke-Free, Hingham Hill, StanleyTheViking.com, all over the place.
And a couple of hilarious vape, what is it, the vape lip reading videos.
Oh, the bad lip
reading. Are you going to continue that series?
You know, I didn't bother reading, watching anything else. I watched the first one they did for the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's like the very first one, and then I watched the second one they did, and it was just like, fuck, man, you gotta kill everything that's funny. When the vape one came out, I wasn't even like,
you weren't even.
Is.
Well, thank you for not participating in minute 30 of your time out of your life.
There are stupider videos to watch that are amazing.
Those are actually the reason why I don't come out with them every week is because they're extremely difficult to produce.
Look, you know what? Every day there is stupid news that's more entertaining to read. Like, I posted one on my Facebook today about a woman from Kentucky who was hit on the neck and the back with a hot brisket at a barbecue competition.
I saw that.
And got third-degree burns. I guess it was two pitmasters that were feuding.
Yeah.
Is that what that was? I thought it was.
I don't want your roast beef on my neck.
It was like a few years ago, a husband shot his wife because she overcooked the bacon.
Nice.
Wow.
I can joke about that now because it was like 3 or 4 years ago.
It's like the old episode of Family Guy, Stewie. He's like looking at his eggs. He's like, I said egg whites, slaps plate off the table. Make it again! So, Daniel, what are you vaping on?
I've got a multitude of things. I got the home wrecker with a tugboat slam cap with Cooley's liquid company Dahlia. It's a strawberry biscotti, and it's fucking amazing. And I've got the SX Mini with Stash's new Southbound, which is a fucking amazing.
Yes. I had a bottle of that.
And it's gone.
And it's no longer with us.
It will be missed.
Is it in your headphones?
No, it's gone. Like, it's sleeping with the fish. It's gone. I just vaped it, and it's really, really good. I'm a big fan of it.
All right.
James, what about you? I mean, you should show everyone your future tech you're vaping on.
Oh, future tech.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's probably seen these. All you Plumes have them, too.
I do have one of those.
This is the beta. This is the Alliance RDA. I really like the Alliance. I really haven't tried anything else since I got this because I've found a happy vape place. And then I'm also vaping on the Jewel, which I misplaced somewhere because it's so tiny. And, of course, I also like snus, nicotine overload. So got Nick and Johnny's Green Ice and some G3 Extra Strong.
Green Ice, is that a spearmint?
Yes, it is. But it's fresh spearmint.
That's okay. I don't know about you, but I like minty things, so.
Yes, I love it.
Interesting. Is that becoming a fad now, the mint? Or is that just your individual taste?
I mean, for those who don't know, Jay, I'm a big fan of this Raspberry Mint from DB Liquids. I've been vaping it for like 2 years.
Oh.
Change. Some good shit. It's a very simple flavor, but it's like, it's the only juice that's touched my K-Fun.
Ooh.
I like that one too. Sean introduced me to it at Vape Bash, and I was a menthol guy before, but I really do prefer like peppermint if I'm craving a little bit of a touch of like cold to a juice. I'm not crazy about Coolada. I don't even know if they still add that, but at one time that was a very popular thing to add to juices to get
They're
that
still doing
cool sensation.
Depending on the flavor. But yeah, there was a time where everybody and their mother in the DIY community was messing around with it.
Yeah, because it added the cooling sensation without the mint kind of undertone.
Though the one flaw about raspberry, though, what keeps it from being the absolute all-day vape for me is, for those, I love to vape when I'm having a cup of coffee, and peppermint tastes fucking disgusting with coffee, especially if you drink it black.
See, that's horrible because I actually have a seasonal vape that I release around Thanksgiving. That's a white chocolate
coffee
latte.
The creamier stuff, maybe I could probably get it with, but I prefer not to. I'd rather have like a bakery flavor or a tobacco with the coffee. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
bakery.
I'm gonna send you some. Remind me after Thanksgiving.
We'll do. I'll need
Somebody asked for Jewel Clouds. There are no Jewel Clouds, but I will tell you this: 59 milligrams. There's nicotine.
Nick, bro, Nick.
That's right.
What are you vaping on, Jay?
My batteries just ran out in my in my IPv3 Li, but I was vaping the Ripper from Hingham Hill in my authentic Velocity here.
Very nice.
But yeah, the batteries ran out, so when there's a commercial break, I'm gonna take a run up.
And now a word from our sponsors.
And then in keeping with my persona, which is the crotchety veteran vapor, I'm actually vaping on a Provari. Remember those? Provari with a Nautilus tank.
Well, I mean, seeing as how you're Phil Bissardo like 4 shades lighter, I'm not surprised with the backdrop and everything.
Yep. Nope, I still enjoy my mouthful on.
That's solely why. I mean, aside from how much I love how a K-Fun vapes, I love the mouthful on.
Yep, that's still my all day, and I literally have, I think, 6 K-Fun across all the versions. Love the K-Funs.
Didn't like the 4, but that's me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I loved the idea of it, but the execution was just a little too hokey.
Plus, when a K-Fun Light Plus, how much are they going for now? It's $50, $75 now.
I haven't had to buy one because I have so many of them.
Kickbacks.
I have a Provari right here.
Oh,
I couldn't find my beauty ring, so I took this little leather ring and put it over there.
You put your Sons of Anarchy strap on there?
Sons of Anarchy. My wife actually bought that for me at a craft fair. I think she was hoping that I'd look something like Jax Teller after I wore it, but it didn't happen.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, but James does have a killer head of hair, though.
He does.
Underneath the hat?
Yeah.
I think my hat head is already showing its true colors at this point.
Good God, these hairlines are ridiculous right now.
Contrary to some of my other comrades in the vaping show business.
No,
Yes.
I think we're in good hair company tonight. Except for Dan. I don't know what Dan's deal is.
You even got a Bissardo hairline, dude. What the fuck?
We're Italian. Look at my last name.
I think we know what Dan's hairline situation is.
Yeah. It's not good. It's not a good thing.
See through the hole, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. It's just my.
There's nothing behind there.
It immigrated. Just say that. It immigrated.
It's going straight to the back.
You know what? I got to tell you, this is a big problem, though. My hairline is actually getting lower. Like, I have hairs I need to pluck.
Oh, yeah, random real estate that pops up? Yeah, it's just like, oh, look at all the space in your forehead.
Dude, it's so weird. They're like 3 feet long, though. It's like, how did I let it get that long?
I've got you beat. Mine are coming out my nostrils. So
that comes with age.
Yes, it does.
I guess so.
It does.
The old dudes.
Mm-hmm. I've got like Daniel, I've got some few things going on here. We got the Ohm Wrecker 200. Can we get the boot up screen? I don't think I ever showed anyone the boot up screen on this thing.
What was that picture on the side there? Was that like the Brady Bunch for neck beards?
What?
What was that picture on?
Okay. Oh, you're talking about my picture?
The picture on your mod that you just held up.
Oh, this? Yeah, it's the neckbeard Brady Bunch.
The plumes.
Weird.
Plumes of neck.
You guys invited me.
The neck.
They
Oh,
also
no.
go by their original name, Savage Garden. That's their original.
Wow. Oh man.
Moving along.
Vape John, you got to get one of them combination weed whacker nose hair trimmers. Just saying. He said he's got long hairs in his ears.
Mm-hmm.
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 But yeah, I also have an authentic velocity on here. With
I feel like I'm the only one left that doesn't have a fucking velocity. I'm kind
gotta
of
jump on that shit,
upset
man.
about it.
I'm
I
just
guess
fortunate
so.
enough that Cisco lives 10 minutes away from me.
Such
So
a
I was able to not have to wait for shipping.
You're that close?
Yeah.
Are you going to the Connecticut meet in a couple of weeks?
The one I know of is in March.
No, there's the Connecticut Vapor Trail meet. Grim Green and Ruby Roo are going to be there.
Thanks for telling me, bastards. No, I'm talking to Nick and Ruby. I know Ruby's in chat.
I just met you today. Don't yell at me.
I still haven't met Ruby and Percy.
I haven't met her in person either. She's gonna be like there. I'm trying to make it happen.
Oh, we're going to be there, yeah. And she's going to.
She is honestly one of the.
She's going to smack me.
She's one of the nicest people.
She's going to smack me because of the bad lip reading video.
Mm.
I made her fart in the last bad lip reading video.
Oh.
She really is. She's one of the nicest people I've met in this industry since I've met anybody.
The purple nurple setup, we'll call this, I guess.
The grimace.
The grimace.
The grimace.
Is that a purple or a blue?
It looks a little purple under this light.
It's a little on
I got the blue here.
like a purple on the blue side, yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
almost the same.
That's purple,
both-
fella.
They both look sexy.
All I know is this color is called the Foobaca Special.
You don't have to question your manhood for that at all.
With the purple boat with baked banana from Lab Rat. Good shit. Daniel will attest to that.
Will. That is some amazing ass banana.
I need more.
Amazing ass banana. You don't hear that very often.
No, you don't.
That's what they
That's
should have
another
called
level.
it.
That's another
Yeah.
level.
I'm all
Taking it
over
up
the
a notch
place.
when it's amazing ass banana.
I got the Snapdragon.
Keep yourself in your seat.
Snapdragon on the SX Mini with.
Oh man.
I got some High Horse juice this past weekend. I got You've probably seen me rock this before. Philip Rock Grand Reserve. It's one of those once in a while bottles I'll grab. It's a hazelnut coffee. It is so fucking good. It's so good. It's
What
not
you need in there
cheap.
is a little mint.
No,
Put a little mint
Take
in
over
that
it.
coffee.
Peppermint, yeah.
no mint.
Pour it right in your coffee.
I did have it with coffee. It was quite exquisite. I got Lushington and my Goliath upstairs. Can't vape it right now because
Where are all my batteries? Damn it.
I've got like 5 pairs. You want to give you one?
Yeah.
Here.
Batteries.
Here.
No,
Before we
they're
get
all
into the
upstairs.
topic or anything like that, I'd like to point out the fact that James is at the same time vaping one of the most airy RDAs that I've ever tried. Ridiculous amounts of air. He's also using a cig-alike in the other hand, which I think is hilarious. He's going from one extreme to the other.
This is my 1-2 punch combo, man.
I guess, man.
Saying.
You talk about the Alliance RDA. I'm like, the velocity gets pretty airy, and then you vape on a phenotype.
The Alliance is ridiculous amounts of air.
Yeah, it is. I have
There's
this
no way to close it down.
Someone made a really funny comment about the phenotype in chat Monday during Plume. Someone said, I can get it lodged in my throat and I could still keep breathing. Something along those lines.
Oh, you'd be perfectly fine. You're good to go.
So our
In my ear and still hear the ocean.
almost.
Almost got you.
Almost. I've been gotten too many times to keep getting gotten. On an exhale, sure. That happens all the time. So, our topic tonight, something that was great and is great news for vapors, in that the UK has, this news is a few weeks old now. We've officially gotten the thumbs up from the UK that they recognize that vaping is 95% safer than smoking. Great, right?
Yeah.
I don't live in the fucking UK, though. But that news is out there. It's all over the place. Where are the results, right? Science is on our side.
Yeah.
Shit is safer. We've known it's safer. We just didn't know how much safer, right?
Mhm.
And now we do. But shit is still shitty here.
Yes.
And why is that? You know?
I mean, I guess I know you're being somewhat rhetorical.
Well, I mean, I feel like people don't really understand at least the workings into how these things work and
Right.
science as a backing historically.
Right.
It's all. I mean, in short, it's all about the money, right?
Exactly.
So my question is, what changed in the UK to make their government all of a sudden pull a 180? You know, was there some sort of backroom deal? Because you're exactly right. What we're facing here is a completely different situation where the science is the same. The science is all indicating, it's all progressing, but it's all indicating that it's, 95 to 99.5% safer than smoking. So why is the government here still being so antagonistic towards vapors? There's no good answer other than to say follow the money.
Well, yeah, follow the money, but where and why, and I don't know how. I mean, if any of you guys have worked in politics or what have you, at least on like a city or state level or what have you, but we've got an interesting structure here in politics in the United States, contrary to other nations. We've got probably some of the most polite and organized palm greasing. We call it lobbying.
Right.
People need to understand that in order to get anything done in this country, you need a lobbyist.
Yes.
Mhm.
That's just through and through, because they're not playing our game, we're playing theirs.
Right.
Their court, their rules. That's why, the company I used to work for, Enjoy, we have they have two lobbyists on retainer.
Mhm.
And how many other vape companies can afford that?
Well, what happens at the state level and what we've done at Mass Smoke Free is we've all kind of gotten together. We've got, I think, close to 20 to 25 vendors, retailers, manufacturers, what have you. We've all gotten together and we've been able to afford a lobbyist. So we hired a lobbyist to do exactly the same thing. I mean, at its core, a lobbyist is really just a mouthpiece. That's all it is. It's an in. It's a way to get clout with a politician, right? As an industry, especially an industry as small as ours, relatively.
Exactly. We're the kids with working parents amid trust fund kids.
Right. So
Right.
at its essence, it's a First Amendment protected right to access to a politician. The problem is that politicians don't recognize the Constitution the way that a lot of individuals do. So they'll end up passing all sorts of policies, just depending on how much money's getting funneled their way, and with the with all the tobacco taxes and then the master settlement agreement and all that stuff ends up coming into play. And without a voice, vaping is just left dangling.
It's left to get steamrolled.
We're an easy target because we're not organized. But damn it, we're getting organized. So
We are, but Jay, you and I were both on Dimitri's show. What was it, last week?
Yeah, it was last one.
Radio, and he was talking about the need for possibly PR people for the industry,
Right.
public relations. And to that point, somebody in chat made a comment, and I want to address it. They said, Stucci says, the English health statement does not support the free market. Yes, I understand that, but two things happened since they came out with that statement. First off, when Public Health England released a statement, there were a lot of skeptics. The skeptics still exist, but since that time, now there's 12, I believe it's 12 other health organizations that have come on board and agreed with Public Health England's statement, and that's important because what it does, it changes it changes the perception of the product for people in England. So even if they're looking at open vapor products, they agree, or it's changing their perception as to whether they're less harmful than smoking, considerably less harmful. Over here in the U.S., we're fighting a public perception issue with e-cigs. If you look at the latest polls that have been released, people aren't necessarily thinking that e-cigs are safer than smoking anymore, or if they are, just marginally safer. So there's kind of a paradigm shift there from what it was like in 2008 to 2010, when the majority of people thought that e-cigarettes were safer. So we're fighting a PR issue as well, you know, and that has to be combated before we can make headway, you know, into the market.
And it's even starting its way from the ground up, even from a non-political level. There is a severe lack of PR from a marketing standpoint, all the way up to, you know, the legislative side of things. You know, like Jay said, we're not organized. We're getting there, and you know, I'm actually it's something I always have to sit and go back and just look at is this shit literally sprouted up out of nowhere, and I don't know how many. You know, this may be the only time in life that I'll get to see something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What started for me, I quit smoking, and I work in the industry now. I got I got a lot of friends around in the industry, and look, it started from nothing. Literally, I've never been able to experience that, and I feel like we have to be obligated to do everything in our power to protect it, and not.
And
be
that's what a lot of people.
Process.
What a lot of people don't understand when you talk to other vapors is they say, well, I'm going to write letters, and I'm going to contact this person, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and that's great. That's all well and good, and I urge people to do that, to voice your opinion, let your voice be heard. That being said, you know, lawmakers they're going to follow the numbers, and they're going to look at numbers. That's why, like Jay was saying, these vendor organizations, these associations, that's why they're so important, because they are fighting fire with fire. They're going out, they're getting the lobbyists, they're fighting this fight the way that it needs to be fought.
Yeah, and we're playing their game. We're playing their
right.
Your turn.
Well, they're fighting it the way that it has to be fought, because we can sit here and write letters and complain all we want to, but what are they going to do? They're going to do what they did in California, and they're going to say, oh, we hear you, we get it, yeah, let's just do away with this, and then a month later, hey, special session, let's see if we can just push this on through.
Right. Yeah, California is a very, very special subject, though. They are like literally the shittiest state when it comes to saying no.
Oh my God.
They really are.
They banned foie gras, Kobe beef, and that shit is delicious. Okay.
Yeah, especially in a vape.
But even just got other things like they've passed laws previously to limit how big you can make buildings and such, and that artificially drives up property value, and that's why it's next to impossible to live affordably in Southern California. They just do all these things that are going to drive away business. The same thing happened with the New Jersey Vape, actually, but more so in California. California is so broke, you know, the old classic, and they're so broke they can't pay attention, and they're going to go and try and do this now.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're going to kill small business. One of the biggest growth industries in this country in decades.
In this country's history.
In decades. Yeah. At least decades. And
decades.
They're going to kill it.
And California itself is the biggest market in the country by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It started there.
Well, James and I probably have.
Oh, I mean, I wouldn't say it started. Okay, so everything trendy in the industry started here in good old California, right here.
Right.
That way.
It just started creeping out.
And there were people here. James is up here. I think this is my mental map of Chicago. This is California. I'm over here in New York. You know, you got Dino and Cisco and all those people that I knew in the beginning, but James is here. But California sucks, and anyone watching California, shit.
The California industry is a double-edged sword, right? Because
it is.
they helped to make this industry blow up the way it has, but they've also kind of been their own worst enemy in that they create a persona where vapors are annoying, right? To people who don't understand vaping.
Right.
So it's a double-edged sword. Like, and how do you deal with that? I don't have a fucking clue.
I think more than that, than anything aside from creating the persona, is not building on this from the start. Like, yeah, you know, there's a lot of money in the industry in California. You got to put a lot of that back into fighting things.
Right.
You know,
We talked about it.
and a reinvestment.
They definitely, you know, they were not proportional in their growth to latch on to advocacy. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to make their money. You know, it was a booming industry. It's only recently that they've really kind of latched on to advocacy in any sense of the word.
Yeah, I mean, and I can understand at least why it didn't happen, because look at other booming industries. They didn't have to deal with this shit, like the dot-com boom. We didn't have to sit and worry about the government making the internet illegal.
Right. They could have. They could have, but
Al Gore would not have been happy about. Al Gore would not have put up with.
Well, the government was smart enough at the time, because you know we were facing a recession at the time, and the internet came along, and the government was smart enough to just say, hey, you know what? The smartest thing we can do is just hold back and just let it happen.
Let the bubble grow.
Let it happen, and that's what they did.
And even the vape bubble's still growing, if you think about it.
It really is. Absolutely.
I actually thought it would have stopped at this point, but you know, legislation's.
It's obviously going to crest. I mean, the trendy portion of the vape community and the vape industry is obviously going to crest at some point. People will move on to something else. You know, I don't know, lasers. You know, I don't know, whatever.
I mean, I feel like
a robot.
You know,
robots that vape for you. Yeah.
As it stands, what's to stop of someone from, you know, right now? What's to stop someone from starting a juice company? But you know, barring many things.
And that's been a hurdle that we've been facing for 5 years. I mean, it's been an exponential growth as far as juice companies because the barriers to entry are so freaking low. But at the same time, as a community, we've also been extremely critical of people who make bad mistakes, whether it be labeling, marketing,
internet pitchforking. I mean,
you know, nicotine concentration mistakes. Early on, we had some dealings there. You don't hear about that much anymore because places went out of business as a result. So you don't hear too much about that. So self-regulation is definitely valid within the community and industry. Unfortunately, you know, we're not going to have that benefit, you know, forever. We're going to be facing federal, state, local regulations. It's going to be a constant fight.
To that point, Jay, I have a theory. I need my tinfoil hat for this one too.
Red Sox hat on that.
You have a flat-brimmed
Red Sox tinfoil hat. Now, Chicago alderman came forward, and he is now proposing a tax bill on vapor products, which consists of, I believe it's $1.25 per pre-filled cartridge, and 25 cents per milliliter for any loose juice or any juice that's sold. Mm-hmm. I have a theory that if they tax it, suddenly it will be okay, because they're getting money in the coffers.
Of course.
Because look at what's happened with analog cigarettes. I mean, obviously there's ad campaigns, and you've got, what is it, thetruth.org and all these different organizations that are against smoking. But by and large, state and local governments are not posing new restrictions on cigarettes. Nothing more than what's already been done.
They're pretending.
And I think we're going to see the same thing with vapor products.
Those organizations only got started because of that lawsuit that in 2000. Thetruth.org was completely funded by Philip Morris and R.J. Reynolds.
Oh, sure. Sure, with tobacco settlement money.
Exactly. And the thing is, you know, I can't emphasize this enough, in that the biggest disadvantage is when you're going up against the most successful public health campaign in American history.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's just like that one. It's like that one guy who had a hit song and is just going to keep living off of it and living off of it because it worked.
Are you
milking?
We're going to get rickrolled.
You think so?
I think it kind of goes back to what James was saying earlier about there. It has a lot to do with perception. You know, like we can talk to each other, and we all as vapors, we kind of already have this belief that it is safer. We understand that it's safer, and we understand that the government is kind of screwing us over. Not really kind of screwing us over, like really screwing us over, but our battle right now, it's a two-front battle where we're not just fighting, state and federal government. We're also fighting perception. Those people out there that they don't have a dog in the fight. They don't care about vaping in the least. Those people, you have to get them to understand that this is a direct example of big money organizations running our government and making more money, through legislation. That they're funneling money into our government and doing whatever the fuck they want to. They're selling death. Nobody gives a shit. They've been doing it for years and years and years. Nobody cares. But the second another industry moves in and says, hey, we're going to take your nut, they say, no. Let me make a phone call and I'll get this shit squashed real fast. You know what I mean? And
you have to get them to care enough to change their opinion.
Right.
None of them really give a shit. They're gonna just listen to whatever was barked at them first. And for most of the general public, that's been vaping is as bad as cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
So the first step is to get them to give a shit, and then you have to get them to change their opinion.
Exactly.
Based on this, it's a tough job.
The way it works, it's usually a handful of people who really headbutt something, that's opposing vaping, right? And then everyone in their party, they don't know what the fuck they're voting on. They're just voting on whatever they're saying. Like, hey, these are my bills. And that's how it works. They all vote along the same line. Mm-hmm. It's those four guys and then everybody else. And this is where you got to focus: is that everybody else who is just going to vote along whatever this schmuck proposes. It's.
Oops.
Ah, man.
What are you drinking out of? What is that? Is it Death Star? What is that thing?
This is my water bottle here. It's a hydro flask with a jug log and a straw lid.
Chef told me all about those. I'm sure if he's watching, which I doubt he is, he's got a giant boner for that right now.
They're wonderful.
I'm actually looking into getting much smaller though.
Yeah, I actually got stopped when I entered a hospital because they thought this was a bomb. I don't understand how this looks like a bomb, but apparently it does. So.
If you're gonna make a bomb, I guess that'd be a good-looking bomb.
Put it in my hands, James, and say that again.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say I don't look like a.
Had to do it.
Really?
What do you look like, James?
There it is.
It had to happen sometime.
It did. I was surprised it took this long.
Power.
You never know. I just might strike. City council sucks. At least the way I've seen it in New York. Just something so simple as cutting after-school programs without even batting an eye. And education, something I hold very high in value. And if they're willing to screw it with very little consideration, then it's like that. And the education lobby is gigantic in this country.
It is. It's enormous. I mean, you've got unions and you've got industry.
Yeah.
Both lobbying in favor of education.
You pretty much have teacher unions battling against standardized testing, and that's been a war that's been going on for ages.
Oh yeah.
Right. And look at the state of education in this country, and this is something that's very, very new.
Anything that becomes politicized ends up breaking.
So it's up to us to really shape it. We have the opportunity to shape it.
Kind of.
Because it's kind of. You know what I mean, though? I feel like we're at the same time we're still in a very unique position, all things considered.
You can't underestimate the court of public opinion, and that's what it comes down to with this PR issue.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what helped a lot with the situation in the UK, because you can have a handful of people from within the vape industry, the vapor products industry, that are championing the product, and they're still going to be looked at by legislators as being part of the industry. So I'm not saying that what they say is totally discounted, but at the same time, You look at what happened, and people are talking about it in chat here. Public perception of cannabis changing. And it's changed quite a bit within that court of public opinion. Now, obviously, it hasn't changed within the professional world or the business world, because look at what the headlines were for UFC this week. I don't know if anybody follows UFC, but Nick Diaz,
heard about that.
what was it, a 60-month suspension?
5-year for smoking weed, right?
Yeah. And of course you have Anderson Silva, who took steroids, and I'm not even going to get into it, but it's not a performance enhancing drug. If anything, it's the opposite. It's going to make him hungry, not ready to fight.
I do follow UFC here and there, and anyone that does knows that Nick Diaz is a very publicly pronounced pothead.
Oh yeah, and if you watch an interview with him,
he doesn't hide it.
Oh man. Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think of kind of the bridge between the cannabis industry and the vaping industry? I mean, we kind of ran into that a little bit in Jersey, right? Where you have folks who are pushing the cannabis wing of the industry at the same show as traditional vaping.
The only reason I've been tentative about that is because then you get into a whole nother segment of the population that violently disagrees with the concept of recreational drug use, and now you're associating a product that has a huge benefit. And I'm not saying that cannabis doesn't have a huge benefit for public health. Look at all the shops that you see now that are selling CBD.
Right.
I know at least in the Chicagoland area, there's tons and tons of them. I can drive 5 miles and find 3 shops here in Northwest Indiana, but you have to be very wary of too close of an association with that, because it's not embraced across the United States yet. So vapor products are a lot more accessible than, at least generally accepted, than.
Yeah, you're also inheriting culture too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are people who have worse words for that industry than they do ours. I see the benefit. In joining forces, but no, not everybody else does yet. And because I also feel like it's not ready.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. I mean, it's just interesting to me that you see. I mean, not to get too overtly political, but you know. In general terms, the right has been on our side. The left is not, right? However, with marijuana, the left is on their side, the right is not. So it's like, how do you strike that balance, or do we just keep a strict line between the two?
I think ultimately you have to appeal to the pro-business schmuck side of the two.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. You have to appeal to pro-business.
And which both sides have their hand in some cookie jar.
More specifically, pro-manufacturing, pro-small business, because there isn't much manufacturing left in the U.S. Vaping has kind of given us
some hope,
into creating a whole new category of manufacturing. So
look at. I mean, I couldn't even ballpark this figure, but how many podunk? We talked about this a bit last week. How many podunk USPS? How many post offices have seen more traffic?
From vaping, yeah.
From vaping, how many small towns have just seen these booms just because of vaping? Because it's taken off. They're all, it's all over the Midwest and the South. Like look at, I'll be at VCC Tulsa in November, and that's a sleeper event because a lot of people don't know Oklahoma's got one of the biggest vape markets in the country.
Yeah.
130 vape shops at least in Oklahoma City alone. And just think about how much opportunity it's created. It's like straight up American dream shit.
It really is. It literally is.
Yeah. Anybody can take and start a vape shop, as long as you've got the capital. You can start up a vape shop and have a growing, thriving business in this country right now. And, with a very little, startup capital, you could do that. But that's in essence, I think that's what's it's a good aspect and a bad aspect of it, because you have a lot of these shops that they've never owned a business and they don't really understand that in this industry you're going to have to fight this fight. You know what I mean? You, as somebody that is profiting from this industry, you owe it to the industry to get involved with your advocacy groups and to support them because they're fighting the fight for all of us. You know?
Right. Yeah, like I said before, the barriers to entry are so low right now. Whether you're a vape shop, whether you're trying to open a vape shop, whether you're trying to open up a new e-liquid line, it doesn't matter. The barriers to entry are so low that anybody can do it, and they don't fully understand the repercussions of what it means to open a business.
Right.
Good and bad. I think, what is it, 70% of B&M owners are first-time business owners? Good and bad, but it's cool to see that kind of opportunity is around.
It's amazing.
That's what the American dream was all about.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be an open market so that people could, buy and sell products, right? And I'll fall back again and say that, you know what, this community in this industry has done a hell of a job policing itself to this point. Yeah. Most of the issues that we see are problems of public perception, which are an extension of the threat of regulation.
Yeah,
that's what that's the problem that we're facing, is the threat of regulation. In a perfect world, we'd be able to continue doing this, and police ourselves to our heart's content. But we don't live in that world. We live in a world where we're going to have to face regulation. So we're going to have to take things a little bit more pragmatic and come down a little hard on certain sectors of the industry.
Yeah, we poked two big bears in proliferating this industry, in big pharmaceutical and big tobacco, and it's going to trickle down to where, like, my kind of half-assed theory right now is FDA regulation may not be as strict as we think it's going to be, but I feel like that's where the states are going to take to it themselves.
Right.
Because not only does the federal government get money from taxes from cigarettes and stuff and all that sin taxes, but states, and a lot of states, rely on that money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
California.
Yeah, and aside from that, California produces a great amount of the produce in this country. A lot of agriculture is based there.
I get all my avocados from there.
Yummy, Haas avocados.
Of course.
Yeah. And so I feel like it's gonna be a messier battle than we think, just because of states and how they've been. Whether you look at Indiana, look at Arkansas, it's gonna be there's a lot of war left to be fought, and I don't think it's gonna end at the FDA. In fact, that's gonna be the champagne cork popping off.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Once the Deeming regs are up, once the Deeming regs are up, we're still looking at a couple of years of comment, of lawsuits, before enforcement really starts. Whenever those Deeming regs whenever the regulations are actually released, we're still going to be far off. We're going to try to find a way to work around them, I'm sure, as an industry and as a community. It's going to be a really interesting time. And right around the same time, we're still going to have to be fighting the state and local battles.
Yeah, and the future of the industry is consolidation. A lot of small. Well, let me put it to you this way: a juice maker that can make a nice living for himself. Let's just say, for arbitrary number, after costs and everything, my juice company, I get to take home $70,000, $60,000 a year for myself. Right? That's great for a startup business. Mm-hmm. Regulation? No, you can't afford to live at regulation. Like your company, you're gonna have to partner up with the lab. You're gonna have to take less money for your juice.
Otherwise, you're immediately gonna have to take out a bank loan for about $100,000 just to get your new upstart going.
Yeah, just to get going, just to get your testing done and your licenses,
your ISO certified lab and all that stuff.
Exactly.
In other industries, there's usually some sort of tiered structure, where if your business only has so much revenue, this is the type of regulation you're going to have. If it has more revenue, then you get a little more regulation, because as your sales and as your revenue increase, the potential for mistakes also increase, right? So you have more regulation, more stringent procedures that you have to uphold.
More people with their hands out, even too.
And more people
going up.
Absolutely. But with vaping, I kind of anticipate an all or nothing situation. Once,
Yeah, and
once the hammer comes down, a lot of people are going to have to go back to day jobs.
yeah, what scares me is the precedent in this country of abandoning industry.
Yeah.
So
Just walking away from it and saying whatever.
whether it's looking at Walmart's effect on small businesses in this country, like I can honestly see the government not just getting, I could see it going all right, and I could see it going incredibly poor.
Yeah.
Because we don't give a fuck about, like, as much as we want to as much as the government wants to preach about invigorating small businesses and all these incentive programs, like,
yeah,
none of that is for vaping, dude.
And none of that's for any industry. I mean, they're gonna preach that as much as they want, but what they're doing in their backroom deals is squashing small business every step of the way. I don't care what industry you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's just not the way the game's played. Because
there's no money there.
Because small business, generally speaking, small business doesn't organize. So small business doesn't have a voice in government. Because they're too busy serving their customers.
Yeah, small businesses, they've, work. You got kids that have to pick up kids from school. You give a fuck about people with normal lives.
Right. Whereas, you go back 100 years, the whole country was small businesses. That's all it was,
Yeah,
that's why we did a whole piece this week on our last vlog about brick and mortar shops, because you have a lot of people that complain about brick and mortar's prices and brick and mortar this and da, and they're ripping us off. Homie, that's why we're as far as we are right now. That's why this is still a thing, because I mean it's a lot of people's livelihoods. They have a vested interest in this industry succeeding, so they're gonna keep on keeping on. You can keep buying stuff online from China and here and there if you want to, but these people that took the gumption to go out and start a business, that's what's keeping this industry to this point alive, in my opinion.
Yeah, the model I always like to, when people love to bitch about B&M prices, I bring up the campus bookstore. Campus bookstore prices fucking suck, but you know what? You don't have to wait 9 days or 3 weeks from some schmuck on Amazon to send it to you for like a quarter of the price. You're getting your book in a pinch. You're paying $80 as opposed to $50.
Yep,
I worked at a shop in Lower Manhattan, and some prices, for most people around the country were outrageous. But you know what? Lower Manhattan is expensive. Commercial rent is expensive, and the prices are going to be indicative of that.
Yeah, I'll never accuse a B&M of, well, I won't say never, but it's rare that I would accuse a B&M of gouging. There's you've got juice companies that can sell, a 30 ml bottle for $7 online, right? Well, what happens when they sell that juice to a B&M? Now they've got employees, they've got rent, they've got, and they're not just standing there and handing out bottles of juice every 3 seconds. They've got to sit there and they've got to train people on how to properly use the products. All this stuff costs money, and people just tend not to understand that. The cost in actual materials to make a 30 ml bottle of juice is negligible. It's all the overhead that goes around that, between who's manufacturing it, who's distributing it, who's selling it, all that stuff comes into play, and a lot of folks in the community don't understand that.
When the more hands that are involved in the process, because if I'm just making juice and I'm wholesaling it to somebody's shop, that's 2 hands, right?
Right.
I can sell it for a good wholesale price. They could sell it for a reasonable, retail price. But if I'm going through a distributor, I'm making a 500 bottle batch, or I send dude like a gallon batch master mix or something, right? Buys it off me at a certain price. That price goes up because I'm involving another party.
Yeah, and now they have to take the time to bottle that e-liquid, which is not cheap. I mean, bottling e-liquid is probably where most of the cost in the e-liquid is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the time or the materials that it takes to bottle that
bottles and labels.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tedious and it takes a lot of time, whether you have machinery or not to do it. Just takes time.
And I feel like it's not too much to at least ask people to try and understand this process, because we've gone out of our way to understand how coils work and how flavors work and how juice works, right?
Mhm.
You know, bigger surface area, going to be bigger, bigger flavor, better flavor, right? So just delve into at least how the business side of things works. It's not terribly complicated, but that's just the rule. In that the more parts that you're gonna involve, the cost is gonna go up, and people are still gonna bitch about it because people are people ultimately, right?
Right.
Well, yeah,
It's
especially new DIYers who once they actually get a good amount of materials in their hands, they're gonna mix a 500 ml bottle for themselves and say, oh my God, this only cost me $20.
Oh God.
Why oh why? But what they don't understand is that they're sitting in their kitchen and they're mixing this bottle of e-liquid. You know what? You could make yourself some tacos at home for
It's always cheaper when you do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's like if I own a sweatshop and I walk into Banana Republic or Abercrombie and be like, man, this shit's overpriced, man. You know how much I can get this shit made for?
knit your own shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I got a question.
Yeah, it'll be cheaper, but
I mean, I like to know how stuff works, and if I can get 5 people, even 10 people, to get interested in how stuff works, I'm happy with that.
Right.
So, Jay, I've got a question then. What do you think's going to happen with the deeming regulations once everything's finalized? I mean, everything that I have read and people that I have talked to who have supposedly talked to the FDA, they have said that GMP and ISO are going to be requirements, and you're going to see the market drop down to maybe as little as 12 to 15 of the major players who are compliant with all of the regulations. And this is a thing to remember. You're talking about the GMP certification and ISO certification doesn't just extend to the product that you're putting out. If you're using a flavoring and you don't have a chain of custody for that flavoring that shows that it's also ISO compliant, then your product is not compliant. And also, it's probably that path to approval process is going to be expensive. So obviously, we're not going to have the plethora of flavors that we have on the market today. It's going to be a little bit more toned down.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think's going to happen? That's what I've heard.
It's and that's what we've been talking about for the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
It really just depends. I mean, we're talking about two things here, right? ISO compliance, which is really just an extension. Like, all right, say you have a food grade lab, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, as a craft vendor, you have a food grade lab. So you've been doing things as responsibly as you can as a smaller craft liquid vendor. Now all of a sudden you need ISO compliance. Okay, fine. It's going to cost you an extra $10,000 to $20,000 to become ISO compliant. It's a huge burden, but if you've been successful to this point, it might not be a big deal. GMP is really just a misnomer at this point because we don't know what those GMP standards are going to be. Until we know what those standards are, those are really just kind of those are the rules by which ISO standards are going to be implemented, right? ISO in and of itself just means you do what you say and you say what you do. So, they just have a set of standards. If you meet them, fine. If you don't get your certification.
But that's any kind of industry that are they're all ISO certified.
That's any kind of manufacturing industry, or warehousing, or lab work. ISO has their they have their talons into all sorts of different industries.
Right.
It's too hard to say. Will it weed out a lot of craft vendors? Absolutely. It'll probably destroy the craft vending industry as far as e-liquid goes. You're going to see a lot of consolidation. But until the actual regs are out, it's really tough for me to say exactly what's going to happen. I mean, I would envision that personally, my company would be able to meet any standard by the time that they're out and being enforced. But that's easy for me to say,
Work hard, play hard. Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this industry for what it is, and kind of the everything it's created for people,
do it
but
as
also keep in mind the end game.
You know what? Do it as responsibly as you can. Pay attention to what the industry and the community are asking for. That's really the best guidance you can take right now, unless you're one of the huge e-liquid manufacturing companies that really have a presence in those backroom deals that are going on right now, and they're going on right now. If you are being true to yourself and true to the community as far as what they're asking for, in theory, you might be able to jump these hurdles once they're presented.
Yeah, and essentially, don't be a knucklehead.
Don't
don't rip off people's trademarks. That shit pisses me off.
God, that's so fucking stupid.
Because they're saying, okay, you're marketing to children, but no, they don't. We've already squashed that argument as bullshit, but they don't give a fuck about that. You don't give a fuck that the company whose shit you're ripping off that's gonna screw you with cease and desist.
And the FDA sees that, and they look at us like we're bath salts. And I keep coming back to that analogy because that's what we look like to them. We look like bath salts. We look like we're operating in this gray area of the market because we have no respect for trademarks. We have no respect for just common decency in some instances.
Yeah, I'm not telling you to wear a suit.
I got to show this one. I got to show this real quick. So this is I don't know if you're seeing this on my screen right now.
Shit, really?
Yeah. So
you're so bad you'll want to hang yourself.
Today. Yeah, apparently limitophobia means the fear of rope. So this is something that a juice company came out with. And somebody asked me, well, we need to drive these guys out of business. I hate to say this, but at this point, dude, FDA regs come through, these guys are going to be gone anyway. This isn't getting on the market.
If it was a joke, if you put out like a joke label, sure, right? But, oh, stop. I've never even seen that one before.
This is the ironic thing is, so they got a picture of a guy hanging from a tree, and supposedly this is actually Suicide Prevention Awareness Week. So I don't even know. Maybe it's a hoax. I'm hoping it is, but you know what? So. Who knows?
Even if it is a hoax, that still looks fucking bad.
You want to see my version of a joke label?
Bag of what? Bag of.
This is my version of a joke label.
Old-timey e-liquid.
Old-timey e-liquid. Yeah. So
man.
we're not asking people, even though they may see us as bath salts. I'm not telling you to go and wear a suit and be like talk like this. Just do your shit properly.
Have some common damn sense, man.
Don't be a knucklehead. Mm-hmm. Like sit and think to yourself before you put out a juice label. Does this look like anything else that's out on the market?
But this is the issue that we face because any 17 or 18-year-old kid can come out with a juice line.
Yeah, and funny you bring that up because I talked about this previous on Plumes. I was at a shop and I wanted to get a bottle of Sour Batch, and I got a bottle with a completely different label. In fact, I don't know if I have it here. Oh, I do have it. Got it. Pull that up real fast. There you go.
Yeah.
That is the artist formerly known as Sour Batch.
Here's the problem with that scenario right there. I'm glad they changed their label, and I'm glad they took.
But that's the thing. Those are
industries. Everyone's resounding.
Yeah.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I'm glad they changed their label. But what does that tell people entering this business from here on out? Do something fucking stupid.
Right.
Put some stupid shit on your label. That way everybody's heard of Sour Batch now. Everybody knows who Sour Batch is because they made some dumb shit labels. Right? So now everybody's heard of it. Now they're going to go out and they're going to be like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. And they'll pick up a bottle because they fucking heard of it.
But that wasn't intentional, though.
And they get commended for changing it.
It was intentional. They can't say that wasn't intentional. That was very fucking
You think that a 23-year-old goes and just sees this forward, like, here, I'm going to go start a giant hubbub and then rebrand. Because you know what? Space Jam did it preemptively because they did it before they really, really got the heat.
That's true.
So
they were one of the first.
I mean, at this point, I can't say I don't care about intentions, but right now, the way things are, I'm just happy to see if a company just even does it.
Well,
because you know what, it's in a sense it's a loss for them because rebranding doesn't always go successfully.
No.
It's true, but in a market this saturated, I feel like people are looking at like, oh, I've got to make a splash. I've got to do something to get everybody's attention whenever I start out, so they'll buy my shitty juice.
You've got to be controversial. Instead of doing the legwork and letting your e-liquid stand on its own, e-liquid has become a commodity at this point where, you know, it doesn't matter. It's like buying a freaking can of canned corn. You know, it just doesn't freaking matter what brand you get. Just get me some fucking canned corn. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's not just about. I mean, there's a lot of e-liquid that I see can stand on its own, but not so much about being controversial, but it just needs to be marketed properly, and there are ways to do that don't involve being an asshole or just doing dumb things.
There are, but it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
We're talking about assholes, and I had to find my bag of dicks. It's just
Thank God.
needed to know where it was.
You have even a new
right
bag of
here.
dicks?
I can't see it. It's
No,
Cannabis.
that's the same one.
Is it the same one? I remember for some reason it being like a knit bag at some point. Or you may have had something knit for your bag of dicks. I remember that specifically.
A bag of dicks cozy.
Maybe.
Cozy.
Maybe.
Oh man.
Oh.
So I guess what we're saying is don't be an asshole.
Yeah, don't be.
I mean, then we can go and say that about anything, but this specifically, yes, it is imperative to not be an
That you
asshole.
not be an asshole.
Because everybody's
It's a big
watching.
ass deal.
But the problem is that people are being rewarded for being assholes. They're being rewarded for being assholes and then saying, "Oh look, I listened, and now I'm perfect
Because
I'm compliant.
because I'm complying with what the community wants." And look,
Yes, I hear you. I
know-
hear you. I'll change it.
it would have been just as easy for you to come out with an e-liquid that could possibly stand on its own merits, but no, you decided to, call it, baby formula.
Burst is by far. Burst was bad because after I'd shown that Sour Batch Changer labels, I went that same day. I'm sitting there planning that I'm going to talk about this on the show. I'm on Instagram and I saw someone with a hand check and there was a unicorn bottle with just a labeled exact Starburst thing. It just said Burst.
Nice. Idiots.
Like
They're talking about in chat the whole the Holocustard stuff that came out, which is exactly what we're talking about. The people that just try to make a splash
no
with something.
Holocaust. Yeah, Holocaust
so
is just
inane.
straight up distasteful marketing. No real copyright infringement there, but that's just some assholery.
Yeah, they should be gapped. Get it?
Oh, that's bad. That's pretty bad.
Too soon?
Yeah. Moving along. Moving along.
That's right.
I warned you.
It's nice.
Oh,
It's nice to have
man.
things switched up a bit. I'm all the Diet Coke angsty. Hook it up. But just
I don't know.
you
I think
what-
that's why a lot of people get frustrated with this industry and frustrated with a lot of things that go on is because so much dumb shit happens because the entry fee right now to be in the industry like we've talked about is so low. It's so incredibly easy to get involved in this industry and people look at it as this their golden goose, you know?
In the
Like,
the
You also-
customer base is also much lower, age-wise, it's much lower than it was 2, 3, 4 years ago, right, James? I mean, it used to be where, your typical customer was 35 to 70, Now you've got this whole new demographic that's much more willing to accept racier branding,
you also
Yeah,
have
and that's what I said on Dimitri's show too. I mean, I guess I'm an old fogey because
Yeah, you are.
if I wanted my wife to buy me juice and for Christmas or something or a birthday, I would be embarrassed to ask her for a juice called whale sperm or turkey titties or something like that.
why would
I
that
don't
be embarrassing? I don't understand. That's weird of you to say that. I don't understand.
Yeah, really?
It's your wife, dude. It's your
I'm in my
wife.
30s. I'm like, yeah.
she's
no.
seen you pooping. It's gonna be awkward to
Babe.
ask her to get you a juice called whale
Let's
sperm.
let's not get into the fact that now by doing the reviewers queue, I'm missing out on cuddle time.
Still have cuddle time?
I told you we're not going to run like Plumes. You can get back to your regular scheduled cuddle time. It's still 10 o'clock.
That's right.
Still want
Jay-
to run a commercial so I can get some more freaking batteries into my IPV.
Oh man, I don't
We
know.
got more than one mod. More than one mod. Come on.
I do
That's
have.
right.
I do have, but the problem is that my battery. I moved my battery charger into my lab, so the only battery charger I have, that's actually
Jay,
available.
just screw that velocity onto the Pravari. That'll work, right?
I was about to suggest that. Pravari reads like a .15, right?
Yeah. Well,
Mine's a .11.
now my IPV isn't even turning on.
Somebody in chat asked for me to give an example of a B&M that is selling mods at cost and juice like Gillette sells razor blades, I think they said. I don't know what that means, but the point that I was making earlier is that, of course there's going to be a markup. That's how economy works. And I think we've talked that point to death, that's how economy works. You buy things at one price, you mark them up a little bit so you can run a business and feed your family and pay your light bills and things like that. Nobody's saying that B&Ms are out there just giving shit away at whatever cost they pay for it. But in this industry right now, they're important to this industry because they are providing, they're small businesses, they're providing jobs for people, and lawmakers, they might not give a shit that you quit smoking from vaping. They probably don't give a shit that you quit smoking from vaping.
You don't give a shit that you pay your damn taxes either.
Right. But they do give a shit that there's tax revenue coming in from somebody owning a business. They do give a shit that they're, bringing business into to that area of town. That stuff, they see numbers. They don't necessarily see experience. They don't see anything other than what kind of revenue is coming in that's taxable by them.
And Dan, I know this isn't important to them, but to us, if we look at it, don't you think that brick and mortars still have a vital part in this industry because they're bringing a new audience to vaping? I mean,
absolutely.
I can't tell you how many people that I've told about the product, and maybe they don't live close to me, but I tell them, go check out a brick and mortar. I just ran a Google Maps search. Here's a list of brick and mortars in your area. I've called a couple shops before and told them people are coming by, and that is their first experience of the product. They don't want to go on the internet and buy a kit and then not like it. So if they go in, they say, this is what I smoked, this is how many cigarettes I smoked, what should I try? And then they try a sample. I mean, that's how they get interested in this as an alternative to combustible tobacco.
That's part of what makes me miss working in a B&M is because of. Now, there are people I've run into in the vaping industry, right? My friends in this industry, and then there are the people that, the customers, people who I normally wouldn't run into at a shop or at a meet or at a convention. I worked at a shop in Lower Manhattan, and I had people from the sanitation department coming in during their lunch break, shooting the shit, cops coming in, like old people, like just a wide array of people that you normally wouldn't see. But the fact of the matter is that a physical shop exists, and Manhattan, everyone's on foot. They're at least going to walk in and check it out. It's James said, you bring it to a different audience, and but what the common denominator is? We all smoke.
Right.
And
I want to know why Ruby Roo wants me to leave.
I saw that.
She was saying you could just go get your batteries.
You just want
It doesn't matter. Because Foo leaves all the time in the Plumes of Hazard shows. He just walks up and
he goes to get chips.
I thought she hated me. I thought she was like.
I usually actually go up. I usually go upstairs to.
I thought she watched one of the bad lip reading videos.
No, I got up. I got up during. I usually before mass starts tech time, I'll get up and go pee or something. It's usually what it is. I usually either to go get more water or I have to go expel some water. So.
I
expel.
Thank you.
And then there's Twisted 420 who just got up.
Thank you, Ruby. I'm going to do just that. Thank you, sweetheart. And I look forward to meeting you. In 2 weeks?
And I might look forward. I had no idea there was a con in Connecticut.
It's not a con. It's a CP Vapor Trail.
Well,
it's a place where vapors congregate.
Yes, there will be vapors there, and we will be drinking and eating and being merry. All right, I'm going to be right back.
Go get your batteries, man.
How do I turn my cam off again?
But you-
James, the bigger question of the evening, more than anything, James, why are you wearing a Red Sox hat?
Oh,
I
shots
don't know.
fired. Shots
I went to
fired.
Boston a couple years ago, and I did the whole Boston thing. I got clam chowder, ate crabs.
Chowder.
You watched the
Boy, if I
Departed.
reverse
You watched
that,
the
I got
Departed.
crabs, and yeah, never
You went to
mind.
Dorchester Street.
That's right. I walked through what was it, Southie, and got lost, which probably wasn't a good idea. But yeah, it was fun. And I bought a hat.
I'm just saying.
But yeah,
I'm not a Yankees fan, but I'm just saying if you ever do come by, just no, I'm just joking. I always have
Just
to.
leave it.
I always have to make a comment about a Red Sox hat when I see it. But you, Mr. Midwest, where baseball
right.
is flourishing.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. This weekend I was in Chicago and I went to a bar. I'm a Colts fan, and I went to a bar that is known for being the hangout for Buffalo Bills fans.
I am a Bills
Into
fan.
hostile territory, if you will.
Wait, there's a Bills bar in
I
Chicago.
was about to say,
Dude,
there's a whole
this
bar
Bills
full of
bar
people that
is-
like
I haven't
Bills.
found
Holy
one
shit.
in New York around me. What the fuck?
Oh, it's completely insane. There were probably, it's a tiny whiskey bar, and there were probably maybe 200 people in there. It was literally shoulder to shoulder. Like if I want to look at my phone, I got to pull it out like this and look at it. And everybody's drinking Molson Ice, and we were the only two guys in there that had Colts jerseys on. And holy shit. I mean, the Colts were losing, but it was rough. It was really rough. But it was fun too. It was an experience.
Yeah, I didn't see Indianapolis winning that game.
No,
Coming in.
and they didn't.
Fucked up this offseason, James. I just want to let you know that. They didn't draft well. They didn't free agent well.
Trapped well.
But that's the thing that pisses me off about this community. How many people I know that don't like sports?
Oh, thank you, Ruby.
That's
you go-
true.
Yeah, I feel like the odd man out in most cases, but deal with it, right? But
All right, what did I miss?
you were just talking
Bunch of
about why
sports talk.
James wears a Boston Red Sox hat.
That is
There's no good reason.
Right, you're wearing a cowboy. I think your cowboy hat's more fitting in Indiana than the Red Sox.
I'm in Massachusetts.
Yeah, you guys need to switch hats right now.
And actually, this is an Australian hat. This is not like a cowboy.
It's closer to a cowboy.
I'm
It's
good.
closer to fitting into Indiana.
What?
He knows I'm right. He knows
How
I'm
did
right.
that happen?
It's closer. It's closer to Indiana than a Red Sox hat is.
Well, I could be wearing a Patriots hat.
Don't do that.
Yeah, let's not.
Ooh.
Don't do that.
Let's not say we did.
I do live in Mass.
So we went way off topic.
Wow,
No, that's perfectly fine.
that was worse
I
than my
like it.
last comment.
I like it.
Patriots, and everybody just goes, oh.
We're just blowing off steam, man. We had like 45 minutes of straight hashtag real talk, man.
On the
When you said
upside,
Patriots,
Ruby
it just
likes the Aussie
deflated
hat.
the whole conversation, right?
Yeah. Oh, bazinga! Where's my sound effects?
That's right, Ruby. Fuck the Patriots.
I don't have the Mass Blast plugin. I don't have the soundboard.
We're gonna have words, Ruby, next Saturday or whenever that friggin' event is.
I
right.
like Flitzy's statement. Go sports, win the points, and do the things.
Yeah, Flitz is indicative of those people on Facebook the day after the Super Bowl, like, yeah, sports. Like, okay, what the fuck is your point? Don't like sports. Congratulations. You don't give a fuck about the single biggest wing eating day of the year in the country.
Wings? Who likes wings?
I like wings and John Lennon. See what I did there?
I see what you did there.
It doesn't make it good. Everybody just sees what you
I
do.
understood it. I was able to absorb it.
Even through his leather cowboy hat.
I do appreciate a Beatles fan, though.
Oh my god.
will
On
say.
that silly note, I want to go and thank Jay for coming through. So I kind of threw this together on a whim, and it went well. So I'd like to thank Jay for coming on. I'd like to thank James for giving up an hour and 16 minutes of cuddling time to come on.
You stay classy.
Don't worry, James. I'll be there in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm about to go head over myself.
I
So-
hope not. You
And
better bring chips, Foo.
my comrade Daniel. I got the Chris, dude. I've barely touched these. There's enough for at least me.
Oh, I finally got new batteries and you're ending the show. Is that what's happening?
That's exactly what's happening.
This isn't the Plumes of Hazard, dude.
Oh.
Plumes of
No
Hazard,
4 hours.
you're good for like another hour.
It's tech time.
Wait a minute. Yeah, wait a minute. Tech time. We're gonna have tech time.
Tech time. All right, so wire.
That's wire.
Wire, y'all. Wire.
Sorry, y'all.
I'm sorry,
Today.
homeboy. I fucked up this roll, but I'm still using it. It just doesn't look usable. He sent me the wire, and I fucked it up.
That's Jimmy Page wire, as opposed to Clapton wire.
No, this is
It's
just
tech
straight.
time. I'm going to
this,
build a mod now.
this is just straight like Yo-Yo Ma wire, like untwisted, just unsullied, if you will.
I love how literally the chat has gone straight sports talk. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's just
Bring up
sports
the
talk.
Patriots.
Oh, yeah, while we were talking about the links between marijuana and vaping, that everyone's like, oh, I snorted marijuana once.
I had a few marijuanas back in
I
my
only took 2. I didn't want to overdose. No, just shit I expected to see in chat. So, way to go, chat. Stay classy.
Staying classy. I like it.
And on that note, peace out. Thank you for watching.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.